Hi, thanks for joining us on the Nourishing the Community Podcast, where we're going to be talking about all things happening in the community with nonprofits and community needs and how you, the listener, can get involved and make some change. I'm your host, LaDonna Parham. This is my co-host,
Norman Hanks. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Nourishing the Community Podcast. I'm your host, Norman, and today in the hot seat, we have Beth Bryant with Isaiah 117. How are you, Beth?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Norman.
I'm so excited to get to know more about Isaiah 117. So tell us a little bit about the history of Isaiah 117 and how you came to be a part of it.
Yeah, sure. So Isaiah 117, our mission is to reduce trauma for children who are entering foster care on removal day. And so our founder, Rhonda Polson, started the first house 5 years ago, which seems crazy to me that it was only 5 years ago, because literally today we have 53 locations in 12 states. But Elizabethton, Tennessee, up in East Tennessee near Johnson City, Rhonda and her husband, Corey, were in the process of adopting a child that they had taken in through foster care. And they were at the DCS office for a meeting. And they noticed sleeping bags on the floor. And so they asked the caseworker, like, why are these sleeping bags on the floor? And the caseworker said, well, that's because children slept here last night. And so through that, she learned that, you know, while children were waiting for placement, there was nowhere for them to go. And so a lot of times they would sleep at the DCS office. And so when she learned that, she truly felt like God was calling her to change that. Like, that was not okay for her. And so she started the first house there in Elizabethton, and things have just exploded since then. We are one of 24 open houses now. Actually, we're approaching our 1 year date. We cut our ribbon on April 23rd of last year. And so as far as me getting involved, I got involved about 3 years ago as a volunteer. Rhonda came and spoke at my church, and I actually wasn't there. I hate that I missed it. I have teenagers who do travels, soccer, baseball, all the things. And so I actually missed Rhonda speaking to our church. But the next Sunday I got there, and the entire congregation was fired up about this mission. And so at the time, I was kind of looking for something that I could get involved in. I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 16 years, and my kids were getting older. And, you know, I was like, I'm ready to get involved in something else. And so I got on board just kind of as a volunteer. We were still serving kids in the office at that time because our house wasn't built. And so I just kind of started doing runs to the office, and from there jumped on board with helping get the house built. And God just kept leading me, and now I have a full-time job running a nonprofit here in town. So
It's nothing better, right?
Yeah, right.
So the house, y'all opened the house last year.
That's right.
How many kids have y'all had stay in the house overnight since you opened it?
So I don't have an exact number, but it's definitely close to 200, I would say. In the month of February, in the house, we served 33 kids. I think we're 5 days into March right now, and we've served 12 kids so far.
And those are all kids from Rutherford County?
So they actually are not all kids from Rutherford County. So right now in the Mid-Cumberland region, there are not a whole lot of transitional homes. And so if you imagine Middle Tennessee minus Davidson County, because Davidson County has their own Department of Children's Services, all the other counties, so you've got Williamson County, Rutherford, Robertson, Montgomery, Cheatham, Wilson, I feel like I'm leaving somebody else. Sumner. Not Coffee, but Sumner. All of those counties make up the Mid-Cumberland region. And so they all work together to find placement for kids who come into custody. So we end up serving a lot of those kids as well.
Yeah. So the kids come to you all, and how long are they typically in your house?
It really just depends. Honestly, I'd like to say that little ones get placed quicker, but that's not always the case either. Larger sibling groups are harder to place. Sometimes they'll find a temporary placement. We've had some kids that will go to like a weekend placement, and then Monday morning they call and they say, hey, the weekend placement didn't work. Can they come back? But we are not licensed as a group home, and so really kids can only stay up to 7 days in our home, and then they have to transition somewhere else. And honestly, like, that we're set up to be like a transition for them, right? We don't want them to have that another traumatic removal. We don't.
Right.
So that's kind of how we are designed. So, yeah.
So it's a short-term placement.
It is. It definitely is.
Yeah. And a lot of the kids that come in, I'm guessing, are experiencing a lot of trauma already.
Absolutely.
So how do y'all work with those children? I mean, it's hard, right?
It is. So all of our volunteers are trained. We have we train them on dealing with children who have experienced trauma, and of course, you can imagine all the training in the world doesn't truly prepare you for it.
Yeah.
Really, the best advice that we can give them is just to listen. And meet the kids where they need to be met. And every child is different. Every case is different. We had a young man that came and stayed with us, and he was very high functioning autistic. And we knew just from what the caseworker had told us that he had experienced a lot of trauma. He did not share that trauma with us. What he did want to do was play Uno, like all the time. And so the caseworkers, the volunteers sat at the table hour after hour after hour, and he beat everyone at Uno. And, he ended up getting a placement within a couple of days. And it was one of those situations where volunteers were like, well, did we serve him? Did we help him? Because he really wasn't very verbal or very vocal. And we have, in our house, we have a chalk wall where kids can draw pictures and they can write messages. And a week or two later, I was doing a tour of the house, and I was showing I think it was a volunteer training actually. And I was showing the volunteers the chalk wall, and I looked down and there was a message from the young man that had been with us. And it said, I know you're scared. They'll take good care of you. So to me, that just was like a true testament that, just being there for these kids and meeting them where they needed us to meet them is what they need. And sometimes that's just playing Uno for 5 hours straight,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's listening, and sometimes it's sitting on the couch and watching a movie, and sometimes it's baking cookies in the kitchen. And it's something different for every child.
So tell me about the house. I've not been there, which is awful. I should definitely come check it out. But tell me about the house. What does the house look like?
So all of our Isaiah houses are white brick houses with a red door and black shutters. Mostly because when Rhonda first envisioned this, she really felt like she actually had a dream about it, and that's kind of what she saw. And so all of the houses have a similar look. But it definitely is a very warm, inviting place. There's nothing institutional about it. We have a driveway with a basketball goal. We have a backyard with a swing set. We have a screened-in back porch. Actually, it's really cool. The property behind us is not developed, and so at night you can sit on the back porch. You can hear the frogs out there. It's one of our teens' favorite places to go. Like when they're having a bad day, they'll come to the volunteers and say, "Can we just go on the back porch and talk?" We have pretty open concept. Which allows caseworkers, because we always have DCS supervision. Our volunteers, we like to say we're the fun aunts and uncles. We're just kind of there, to play, to have fun, to do laundry, to pack bags if needed. DCS is always there supervising the children. But the open concept kind of allows them to be able to see kind of what's going on all the time. So we have a great big kitchen, a living room with a giant couch and a huge TV, lots of game systems and toys, stuffed animals, pretty much every board game you could imagine. We try to have a variety of toys, games, things like that, because we literally serve like zero. We've had like 3-day-olds that come straight from the NICU all the way up to kiddos who are about to have their 18th birthday. So we have to be versatile. And then we also have 2 bedrooms in the main part of the house where We can serve up to 4 in one bedroom, up to 3 in the other. We don't ever mix cases or families, but we do, sibling sets can stay in a bedroom together. There's an office space that we use as staff when we're there working, but then also like if DCS needs to take, a critical phone call that maybe the child doesn't need to hear, or if they're there working and they have to be virtual at court, something like that, they can go into the office, they can step away. And then we also have a visitation space. It kind of is like a studio apartment. I guess it serves as like a separate space from the house. And that can be utilized for families who are working towards reunification. And so caseworkers can set up a visitation time, and foster families will bring the children to the visitation space, and then bio families will come and have that visit with their children there. Typically those visits are 3 to 4 hours. And, say you meet at McDonald's, 30 minutes at McDonald's is great.
Yeah.
4 hours at McDonald's, not so great. So,
Yeah.
They're there. We've got, again, television, games, books, a kitchen if they want to bake cookies. Like, it's a nice home environment for them to have that visit with their child. Then my favorite room of the house is upstairs. The entire length of our house is our giving room, and it's wall-to-wall shelving full of tubs, items that have been donated by the community for the children that we serve. So, typically when a child is being removed from their home, they come with very little, usually nothing. And so we want to make sure that they have everything they need while they're with us. But then also part of what we do is to ease transition for foster families as well. And so when those kids leave us to go to that next part of their journey, we want to make sure that they have everything they need, at least for the first couple of days while they're with their foster family. So we've got clothes, toiletries, shoes, school supplies, books, all the baby things that you might need. If a foster family needs a car seat and we don't have it there at the house, we can order it. We'll send a volunteer out to Walmart to grab one. We just try to make sure that the child, the foster family, and even the caseworker too, our mission is to lavishly love on all of the people that are experiencing this traumatic event.
So with that, sounds like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, we're really busy.
It sounds like it. Do y'all what is your staff situation at Isaiah 117?
So I'm the location leader. So I am full time, 40 hours a week, and so basically I'm kind of over the house, and then my main role is to spread awareness to the community, and then also to work on fundraising for the Rutherford County House. And then I have 2 part-time staff members who work with me. One is Lindsay Broit. She's my support coordinator, and she kind of does like administrative type things, all the house things, because we do work at a house. And so a lot of things that you would do at your own home, like changing the air filters, making sure the bills are paid, all those kinds of things, but also setting up systems because we are a very busy house with children coming in and out all the time. So, Lindsay takes care of all of those things, and she also helps me plan events that we do in the community. And then I have another part-time employee, Arlene Spence, and her job is care coordinator, and she coordinates all of our volunteers, make sure that, she helps to get all our volunteers certified, checks in on all of them. If there's an event coming up that we need volunteers to help with, she coordinates all of that. So we really all work together as a team to make the magic happen, so
that's
to say.
awesome.
Yeah.
And you said DCS supervises all your children constant.
That's
so
right.
Are they there 24 hours a day?
They are, and they do that kind of like on a sitting schedule. So typically they do like 4-hour shifts. So it's not necessarily, so if a child comes to us, and there's different scenarios. Sometimes a child is coming to us because it's removal day for them. They've been removed. Sometimes they come to us because they've been in a foster situation that's been disrupted. Sometimes kids are coming to us because they are in transition at the time, and they are searching for placement for the child, but it's maybe a situation where a lot of times it's teenagers that are just maybe have been in the system for a while, have experienced a lot of trauma, have maybe not made the best decisions leading up to that, and just unfortunately on paper look a little more challenging, and it's just a little harder for DCS to find them a good foster placement. And then sometimes children are waiting for a bed in a treatment facility, because a lot of times when kids are removed from their home, they really do need that that time to be treated and to have that, that time to heal. So, but unfortunately, there is a shortage of treatment facilities in this, that are state funded right now as well. So,
yeah, or affordable.
Yes, that as well.
Yeah. I used to work in a crisis stabilization unit for children,
Really?
adolescents, and teens. And so I've seen a lot of kids come and go, right, that have experienced traumas that we can't even imagine. Right. So I understand, these houses, these transition houses are so important. Why did you, I'm trying to think of how I want to word this. What made you decide, after 16 years at home with the family, decide that you wanted to go in and take care of everybody else's kids?
That's a great question. Okay, so I was an educator before I was a stay-at-home mom. I taught in Rutherford County schools for 7 years. So I've always had, since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to be two things: a teacher and a mom. And so I feel like I've always kind of had that desire to take care of children in my heart. So, I taught in the school system for 7 years, and, in Rutherford County, I did see a lot of situations where children were in abusive situations or neglected situations. And so, obviously that injustice, put a fire in me that obviously was never completely extinguished. But when my oldest was born, I knew that I wanted to pour all my energy and time into my family for that period of time. And I did. I was the PTO president for a gazillion years. I can't even count how many years, and focused all my energy on my family. But I guess about 3 years ago, my son was in high school, my daughter was in middle school, and I kind of had this feeling that maybe they didn't need me quite as much as I felt like they needed me anymore. And I just found myself with some time on my hands during the day, and I felt like I needed to do something that was purposeful, something where I felt like I was serving. And so when I first heard about Isaiah 117 and what they were doing for children in our community, I thought this is a way for me to get involved. So I think I mentioned a minute ago that at the time we were serving kids in the office. And so we had a group me, like a group text. And if there was a need, they would throw it out there in the group me. And if you felt like you could take care of it, you would jump on and say, hey, I've got this. And so I think the first one that I did, there was a boy at the office who wanted a pepperoni pizza and a Sprite for lunch. And I was in the area, and I was like, okay, I can do this. So I ran, got the lunch, went into the office, and I was like, I'm from Isaiah 117, and I'm bringing lunch. And, I felt good. There was a child, he was hungry, and I took care of it. But I don't really think it truly resonated with me in that moment, like what I was doing. I did a couple of other little calls like that. One, there was a 15-year-old boy who had been, who was a runaway, and he had just come into custody, and he didn't have anything. And so they needed somebody to go shopping for clothes. Well, I had a 15-year-old boy. So I went to Dick's, got all the things I thought a 15-year-old boy might want, dropped them off at the office. That one got to me a little bit more, especially thinking about my 15-year-old child at home. But one night there was a call, and they said they had 2 boys in the office who were going to have to sleep there, but they had school the next day, and all of their clothes were dirty, and they needed somebody to come pick them up, do the laundry, bring them back by the next morning. And I was like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm a professional laundress. I've got this, right?
I've been doing this for 16 years. I'm on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I drive to the office, get the suitcases, bring them home. I'm in my laundry room. I open them up, and I'm pulling the clothes out, and it's like little jeans, like 5T, little Ninja Turtle underwear, like 3T, Paw Patrol T-shirts. It was COVID times, like little masks that had their names on them with Sharpie, like some little blankets. There was a little teddy bear, like really worn. And it hit me. I was like, okay, these are 2 little boys, little brothers, like probably like 5 years old and 3 years old. And today they were at their home, and maybe it wasn't a loving nourishing, caring home, it was still the only home that they knew. And they were taken away from that home. And now they're sitting in a cubicle at an office, scared, alone, sad. And I have all of their belongings. The only thing that connects them to their home,
to their world.
Mm-hmm. And I just lost it.
Yeah.
I just was in the laundry room doing the laundry, crying. My husband comes in. He's like, "Why are you crying?" I tell him. He starts crying. And I just knew in that moment, I was like, this is not okay. Like, we have to build this house. Like, these little boys could be sleeping in a warm bed in their own pajamas that we would have washed for them.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was the moment I knew that this is what God wanted me to do. And so, at that moment, I just kind of got involved as a volunteer. But God just kept pulling me and they just kept asking me to do a little more and a little more. And I don't know, it was scary. It was really scary. I mean, I hadn't had a career since before I had become a mom. And I first came on, they're like, 10 to 15 hours a week. I was like, okay, I can do this. And then it was 20 to 25 hours a week. And then pretty soon it was like, hey, we really think if you're up for it, this, we'd love for you to do this full time. So I went home, talked to my family about it. We prayed about it. And I think they knew, like, they saw how much this meant to me and that I really felt like this was something that God was calling me to do. And so here I am.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm not going to cry.
Okay.
I'm working really hard to fight back those tears.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Beth. It's a great story. The kids that are coming into you all with DCS, obviously, is the ones that are bringing them in. I get that most of them don't have things. I know you said donations, so how do people help with those things? What kind of things? Obviously, you don't want someone to bring in a 20-year-old pair of underwear.
That's right.
What are you looking for donations?
So we only take brand new donations. And the reasoning behind that is these kids, most of them, are not used to having things that are brand new and are literally specifically for them. And we want them to know, like, you are deserving of brand new things. You are deserving of things that are meant specifically for you. So, say we have a child that comes in and he really, really wants a pair of Nike Air Force Ones. Well, we're going to go to Dick's and we're going to buy him those Nike Air Force Ones so that then he can go back to school the next day with dignity and be just like those other kids that maybe have always picked on him because his shoes had holes in them, or
or duct tape holding them together.
Exactly, right. And so, yes, we only take brand new things. So in our giving room, like I was mentioning, all of the tubs. So each of those tubs actually is available for sponsorship, and so that can be an individual, it can be a family. We have some church small groups that sponsor our tubs, and so basically, if you sponsor a tub and your tub happens to be running low, our giving room team will reach out to you and say, hey, your little girl size 3T pajama tub could really use like 5 more pairs of pajamas. So then you would go out, purchase those pajamas, and then coordinate with our giving room team to get those pajamas into the tub. So that's one way that you can that you can help. Also, gift cards are always a wonderful donation. We have a gift card binder, and so if there's something that we need that we don't have in the house, or say we have a house full of kids and they all really want pizza for dinner, we can use those gift cards to go purchase the things that we need or to purchase dinner. We also, online, you can sign up to be a sock buddy. So we have monthly donors, and if you are a monthly donor of $25 or more, we call those our sock buddies, and you'll get some really cool Isaiah 117 house socks in the mail. So basically, we've kind of averaged that each child that we serve, we spend about $300 on. So if you donate $25 a month, that's one child per year. So there's other options out there. And then you can always make a one-time donation as well.
Awesome. If people want to find you, they want to get to know more about you, how do they do that? So
if you go to Isaiah117house.com, across the top, you'll search for locations. And now there are 12 states to search through, which is amazing. But if you go to Tennessee and go to the Rutherford County page, there are all sorts of links there. You can click the link if you're interested in becoming a volunteer. There's a volunteer interest form you can fill out. Our Amazon wish list is there. There is a button there to connect to us if you have questions, if you want to email us. Also, we have an event coming up in April, and we're hosting a car show at Northside Church on Thompson Lane. And so if you would like to be a corporate sponsor for that, or if you're a car enthusiast and you want to register your vehicle, you can do that as well.
Okay. Can they do that online?
Yes.
At Isaiah117house.com?
Yes. So it'll take a little,
a little
clicking
finessing.
and
a few button pushes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are y'all on Facebook, Twitter, TikToks, any of the fun things?
We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. It's Isaiah117 House Rutherford.
Okay.
And also my email address is beth.bryant@Isaiah117house.com. You can reach me that way too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Again, you have 3 staff. You have a lot going on. Do you have enough volunteers? Like, I know in nonprofit, we never, ever, ever have enough volunteers, right?
Right.
But do you have volunteers? Do you have a steady stream of volunteers? Are you desperately seeking volunteers?
We have been really, truly blessed. We do have a lot of volunteers. But as I mentioned earlier about how busy our house is, we don't ever want our volunteers to get burnt out. And also there are a lot of different ways to volunteer. So say you're listening to this and you're like, that's amazing, but it would break my heart to be in that house with those kids. And that's okay. Some people feel that way. Like I said, we have the car show coming up. We always could use help with our events. Also, we do still have first responders who don't necessarily want to get certified to be in the house, but they would love to go pick up pizza and drop it off, or they'd love to go grocery shopping. We also have cleaning teams who come in when we close the house for cleaning because kids are messy.
They definitely are.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of different ways to get involved. So we're always looking for people who feel like led to serve and to help with our mission. So yeah.
Okay. I know that Isaiah 117 is a verse in the Bible. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh gosh.
What is the verse?
So I don't know it by heart.
Okay.
But basically, it is to seek justice and to do right, and to take up the cause of the fatherless and the widow, which we don't really serve the widow part, but definitely the children that we serve. At least in the moment that they're with us, are fatherless, and we do want to seek justice for them and to do what is right. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry I put you on the spot.
That's okay.
I just figured that was the one verse that everybody would know.
Well, 47 years old, it's really hard to keep things memorized in your head anymore. But I do need to go back to my VBS days and just practice it over and over again.
Yes. I really didn't mean to do that to you.
It's okay. I'll forgive you.
Events. You're doing the car show in April, you said?
We are.
What other events do y'all have coming up?
So for all you runners, if you're running the Special Kids 5K, or I think they have a 15K too, this Saturday, we're going to be over in the Family Zone.
I don't know why people talk about running. This is the dumbest thing in the world.
Well, I'm not running, but if you want a really cool temporary tattoo with our logo, I'll be sitting at a table under a tent giving temporary tattoos out. We also do a golf tournament every year. We're still finalizing that, but that's going to be in September.
Okay.
And we have a couple other events we're still kind of working on. But again, like I mentioned, we're 100% community funded. And so if you're listening and you are just feeling like, hey, I would love to host a fundraiser for Isaiah 117, reach out. Because a lot of times we've had, the Alley on Main does an event called Artist at the Alley, where they choose a nonprofit to support. So they've done that event for us a couple of times as well. So
shout out to the Alley. We
amazing.
Love the Alley.
Yeah.
They're so good to all of us.
We had an event back in December. It was at the Luna Music, I think it used to be Main Street.
Okay.
And it was Jay Whitty and the Christmas Cowboys, and they put on a concert, and all the proceeds went to us. But the Alley on Main donated the food. And then I guess it was a couple weeks ago, Northside Baptist did an 80s date night. And again, the ticket sales went to our house, and the Alley donated the food there again as well. So Sean and his team are amazing.
Sean and Christy are amazing.
I know,
and their
they
team
truly
just
are.
amazing. Yeah, we
and their
love
food's
them.
really good too. So
It is, yeah. One more question.
Absolutely.
I promise it's going to be easy.
Okay, don't put me on the spot again.
I won't do that again. I know in Rutherford County, our donors like to make sure that money stays in the county. And with 25 houses across
Right.
12 states, the money they're donating, the event funding that you raise, does it stay right here in Rutherford County?
So that's a really good question. So the answer is mostly yes.
Okay.
So like I said, we have 3 staff here. We have a resource center that's in Elizabethton, and that is where our executive board lives. That is where our marketing team is. That is where our accounting team is. So because they exist, we can spend all of our time serving the kids in our community. So for all the funds that we raise in Rutherford County, 14% does go back to our resource center.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
But they are working towards lowering that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have to ask.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Beth, thank you so much for coming and
thanks
talking
for
to me
having me,
today.
Norman.
I feel like I've learned a little bit more about Isaiah 117.
Great. Well, anytime you want to come see the house, let me know.
I will. Don't worry. I would love to get over there and see it. Yeah. And I love what y'all are doing. I love kids. I always have. So
Well, thanks for
you.
having us.
Of course.
Okay.
And as always, thank you to our producer, Trent Denson, who Spread the Positive, bringing light to what's going right. I hope you all have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you soon.